Next up at UFC Vegas 39, we have Damon Jackson versus Charles Rosa. Damon Jackson 18-4-1 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. Charles Rosa 14-5-0 in his career, 3-2 in his last 5, alternating wins and losses. If you remember Rosa, he's coming off of that win over Justin James, where he was absolutely dominating the grappling for 2 rounds. Then in the 3rd round, James has Rosa like 90% knocked out on his feet, and then shot a takedown for some reason, was reversed and lost the fight. So Charles Rosa was basically gifted that win. He earned the 2 rounds and then should have been put out if his opponent had a tiny bit more fight IQ. Charles Rosa has great jiu-jitsu, but in some cases, all he has is jiu-jitsu. In most fights, his grappling should be able to get it done. He does have clean boxing. At this point in his career, he is a veteran. The problem is he's not consistent. And while he needs to grapple to win, he doesn't win off of his back. So, like, he needs to initiate the takedowns and win on top. He needs to earn those scrambles to win this fight and use his grappling. He's not a guard grappler. He's more of a control grappler. He moved to Sanford MMA, and he looked good in his last fight up until he got clipped, and your chin is your chin. It is what it is. Damon Jackson, also a very good grappler. He's a very opportunist grappler, meaning he just snatches things up and scrambles. He doesn't plot from technique to technique. He doesn't knee on belly, slide over to mount and set things up. He creates a scramble and he will snatch something up inside of that scramble. He's willing to slug it out on times, which honestly could be an issue for Charles. That's what we saw happen in his last fight. He definitely doesn't have the cleaner striking, but his willingness to engage will benefit him in this fight. If you check out the stats, these guys are almost identical across the board, but Charles is a little bit better everywhere. His strike differential, meaning how many he lands versus receives, is even. He gives one and to get one, basically. If you look at Damon Jackson, he's almost hit 30% more than he does the hitting. So 3-1 getting hit versus doing the damage. Damon Jackson only has a 20% takedown accuracy versus Charles 35. The stats are telling you Charles Rosa is going to win this fight, but honestly, stats don't pick fights. I like Damon Jackson in this fight. I think Damon's will, his determination, his willingness to absolute scrap it out, and his fight IQ will be too much for Rosa. He was borderline gifted that non-knockout in the last fight because James made a poor decision. I don't see Damon Jackson making those same decisions, making those same mistakes. His grappling can at least survive, and then on his feet, he's going to throw wild and potentially catch him. I like Damon Jackson in this fight. That was my long-winded breakdown. What do you think, Jakey?
I'm actually surprised. I didn't know what the odds were until I saw this slide. I'm actually surprised that Damon Jackson's favored. I would have thought that as odd makers look at Charles Rosa and kind of his resume, that they might respect him a little bit more. And I thought he'd be the favorite going in this fight. If you look at his last 4 losses, once to the Yair Rodriguez, who's a title contender now, Shane Burgos, who's an incredible fighter, Bryce Mitchell, who's the best wrestler Arkansas wrestling in the UFC, the most dominant fighter in the UFC, period. And then Derek Minner, who was just kind of out-wrestled him. And you nailed it with Charles Rosa with the wrestling. He's a great grappler. He's a black belt, but he doesn't wrestle, and he will get out-wrestled. And he will lay on his back and just try to work for stuff. But against a good wrestler that can hold positions, that's how he gets beat. And Damon Jackson can probably be that guy. He probably should be that guy in the fight. And that's probably what the odds makers are seeing. But Charles Rosa, I think, is like a next-level grappler. And Damon Jackson, I don't know if he's going to be able to control those positions as much as he would like. I think that's where they're going to end up. I honestly think it's going to be the fight of the night, in my opinion. It might be a little sloppy at times. There'll be some weird exchanges, some weird rolling around, but I think it's going to be the fight of the night. I'm kind of leaning towards Rosa for a betting at 145 because I think it's a pretty close fight. But if I were to pick, it would probably be Jackson. Also, Charles Rosa did the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I think in his first pro fight, he got this arm bar. And what's that? The ref's name, the big bald ref, Margliano or whatever. That he was reffing, and Margliano, after the armbar, pushed him off. And when he pushed him off, he fell and separated his shoulder. So the ref literally injured him in the octagon. It's the craziest thing. But I would pick Jackson in this fight. But I think Rosa is an interesting underdog play for sure.
What do you think of DraftKings and Monkey Knife Fight?
DraftKings, I would probably choose Rosa in the, kind of that value play at $7,800 to free up a little bit more money. Monkey Knife Fight, this could be just all grappling or nobody grapples and it's just sloppy striking. It's probably more and more because I think that there's going to be a lot of just ground exchanges and stuff like that. So I probably play more and more.
Yeah, I agree. I do think this goes. I don't think there'll be a stoppage. Obviously, we've seen Charles Rosa's chin tested. Damon Jackson knows that. He's willing to slug it out, and he could test Charles Rosa's chin. But his chin was tested, and then he survived. So he didn't just completely fold. While you were talking, I did just place a bet. I did Charles Rosa inside the distance, decision, no action. So Charles Rosa can pull off a submission. I'll get paid. If Charles Rosa loses, could be a murdering of a decision or even wins a decision, I get a refund. No bet, no big deal. And I got that at plus 125. So only a little bit less than the money line. And I've got some protection built into there where he could lose a decision and I still get paid. So I like that bet. I agree. Charles Rosa definitely has the grappling to make something happen. He is a veteran. Damon Jackson's the pick, but the reality is, money's money. And if I'm going to put money on this, well, I did put money on this, a half a unit. I like Charles Rosa to potentially get a submission. And if he doesn't get a submission, he could probably survive. More with Monkey Knife Fight's probably the safe play. I don't know if I'm going to touch either one in DraftKings. And we got a bunch of comments in the live chat saying that this line opened up the other way. Charles Rosa was the favorite, and then it was bet and it flipped. So lots of money came in on Damon Jackson. So I think Damon Jackson's probably the solid, the more solid pick. But as I mentioned, I just put a bet on Rosa for a Hail Mary submission. And if he doesn't get it, I get a refund, and there was no bet.